Shalom. First, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone from whom I learned this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 elect. I am Mayak Allah. And I wanted to bring this out just because I had heard about this on a news program that I was listening to the other day, and it was pretty vague about it. And so I put it into Chat GPT, wanted to find out what is this Wraith program. It's a military program. Was used. They referred to this program when they were in Venezuela, and with the use of their new, or maybe they're not very new, but just newly being used in Venezuela. As I don't know if you've really heard much about it, but these soldiers in Venezuela said that when the United States troops arrived, they arrived in a very small number, and they used weapons that they had never seen or never even heard of before. And it was just a small amount of U.S. troops that took out a very large number of Venezuelan troops. So I put it into Chat GPT just to see what this Wraith program is about, and it really didn't want to give me a whole lot of information. I first put it in asking what does the Wraith acronym stand for, and it kind of told me that it stands for various different things. So I tried to try to narrow it down, and I said it said it wasn't necessarily just an acronym. So I tried to narrow it down, and I says, what does Wraith mean in the military context? And it says, so I'm just going to read just what information it did give me, and I just have just a couple verses that I wanted to bring out, and this will be very short, just for the simple fact that Chat GPT was really elusive, didn't really tell me a whole lot about this Wraith. It says, so my question was, what does Wraith mean in the military context? And it says, in the military context, Wraith is almost never a formal term or doctrinal acronym. It is used descriptively and symbolically, not technically. It says the meaning of Wraith in the military usage. It says when the military uses the word Wraith, it generally conveys stealth, invisibility, something hard to detect or attribute. And I wanted to it kind of, just reading this just kind of prompted me to remember that something that they was saying in this news article was that when the U.S. troops did land on the ground, the first thing that they experienced was that they were experiencing something that they couldn't see, but it was physically causing them pain. It caused them to vomit blood. It caused some of them to lose their vision, headaches. It almost put them in a state where they were kind of just incapacitated, couldn't move, paralyzed, So that first conveyance here that this shows, it says stealth, invisibility, something hard to detect or attribute. And the next generality that it gave me was persistence, present without being seen. So these troops described this being attacked by something that they didn't see, which I said it kind of paralyzed them or put them in a state where they were not able to react or be able to respond to the military troops that they saw coming off the I guess it might have been helicopters that they were been deploying from. So it says lethality without warning. It says action before the enemy realizes what happened. And ghost-like operations, deniable, covert, or low signature activity. And these are just weapons that the United States are using, and they probably used them somewhere else, and we just didn't hear about it because they have to try these weapons out to see how well they work, you know, before they actually go onto the battlefield with it or in a battle situation with them. And it's just demonstrates the how wicked this man is, because battle has changed. Not only do you come with weapons, you know, that they would use in the past, you know, whether they be guns or whether they be whatever other weapons that they might have at their disposal. But now they use a weapon that you can't even see, that you can't even detect until it's being used on you, and it paralyzes you or puts you in a state where you can't respond, you can't move, you can't do anything to defend yourself. So with such a weapon, it's easy for them to use a small amount of troops to come in and take out a large number, because you're fighting against something that you can't see. And I just wanted to bring out like I said, a couple of verses that I have here. I'm going to go over to the book of Psalms. Well, you know what? Let me go over to. Yeah, I'll go in Psalms. Psalms chapter 17. Psalms 17 and verse 13 says, "Arise, O Lord Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down, and deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." And that wicked being Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right? And he is the sword. He is what the Lord used to not only punish the Israelites, but you can see this man has gone about the world, about the world in his quest to conquer. So this man has many weapons that he uses, all right, and he just thinks up ways in which he could bring out invent weapons, so that he can continue to go about conquering, even if his military is a small unit. And you know, they're telling us that their military recruiting is up since Donald Trump has gotten into office, since Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, has taken over. They're saying that the amount of troops who are enlisting into the military has gone up. But even if so, even if that's true, it's the quality of people that are enlisting in these militaries, all right? Because the standards had been lowered at one time, but supposedly they've raised the standards back up to the levels at which they had before Biden had been in office. So it's a large number of these people who are enlisting that are really still having problems just living up to the standards that's necessary in order for them to be a successful military. because people are just simply not in shape or not physically capable of living, passing the standards that's necessary in order to be a member of the military. I'm gonna read verse 14 also. It says, "From men which are thy hand, O Lord Yahweh, from men of the world which have their portion in this life." So this being their kingdom, their dominance and the things that they are able to present on the battlefield, what they make up for, what they lose in the military members of their military, they make up for with these new weapons that they create. These new weapons that they create put them in a position where they can use a smaller number of troops and still be able to compete on the battlefield. It says, verse 14, "From men which are thy hand, O Lord Yahweh, from men of the world which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. They are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes," which is what they do. They go about conquering. And in the instance of Venezuela, they went in and wanted to take over oil reserves, and it contributes to the riches which they kind of pile up. The investments that they make, they take these riches so that they're able to pass them on to their children. They give them a very great head start in life, so to speak, with their inheritance. With the things that they leave them, and it's monies that they've gotten through the spoils of war. And they're able to take those, and because they write laws, it's legally obtained riches that they can pass on to their children for their inheritance. And just so we know who we're talking about, I'm going to go into the book of Job, and I've read this before, and it's going to come out a whole lot more because people are finally starting to realize that the wicked are in control of this world, just as it says in Job chapter 9 verse 24. It says, "The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" So we can see just with what's taking place here recently in Venezuela, the wicked actions of those who are in control of this world. All right, they go in and conquer and take what it is that they want. Whether they have to lie or cheat or just whatever it takes in order for them. And they don't hide these things. They tell you it. They go to the public and they tell you exactly what it is they want to do. All right, because of that pride, they feel as though they have the right to do these things, and there is really no need for them to hide it anymore. All right, so if you can't see who the wicked is and who they are, and who's controlling this earth with the conquering and processes that they take in order to go ahead and steal and take from other countries and make it their own. If you can't tell who this wicked man is, then I don't know what else to tell you. All right, because it's plain, it's right in front of your face. But I'm just going to read a little bit more of this from Chat GPT. I left off at persistence. It says present without being seen. Also lethality without warning. Action before the enemy realizes what happened. It says ghost-like operations. Deniable, covert, or low signature activity. It says how it is typically applied. It said Wraith is commonly used as program names, especially ISR, cyber, EW, or stealth platforms, commonly used as call signs, unit nicknames or patches, exercise name, capability nicknames rather than official designations. So these men go about creating these weapons, and they think up ways, and they think up ways of going in to conquer. Like I said, using small numbers and small groups. I just have a couple more that I wanted to bring out, but this is giving you an idea of how this man is constantly thinking of ways to conquer. All right, just as technology is being used in order to win wars, or to go in and conquer different lands. I want to go over to Micah chapter 2 and verse. I'll start at verse 1. You can the heading here says, "Woe to oppressors," and it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. And when the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hands." And this is what they do. They're constantly thinking up ways of conquering, different ways of conquering, that they can go about taking what it is that they want. All right, simply, and they can put it into practice, because they can go into foreign lands and make use of these weapons on their adversaries. They can test these things out in other lands without you even knowing that they're testing them out. All right, because we're not going to hear about it on the news. Verse 2 says, they covet fields and take them by violence, which we just recently saw them do. They took over what it was they wanted to take from Venezuela. Not only have they taken oil, there's other things that they're taking that they don't even mention in the media, because they are Venezuela is rich in resources like gold. So in addition to the gold and the oil that they've taken, I'm sure there's other things that they're taking that they don't even mention. Verse 2 says, "And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage." All right, I want to read that verse in NLT. It says, "When you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, they take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance." All right, and we can see that's plain to see also, because you can see there's a people in a land of small hatters who have taken over a land, and it's the inheritance of the Israelites. And these people are occupying this land and sitting on this land, claiming it to be theirs. All right, so you're denying the real Israelites their inheritance. All right, but Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is going to come back. All right, and these lands is going the rightful heirs of this land are going to be put into this land, because they have imposters that are there right now. All right, I just want to read a little bit more, and then that'll be the end of this. It says, WIAD is not an acronym. It says the military program names often are single, evocative words, have no official expansion, may later get an informal backronym. Let's see what that means, a backronym. Salakia. I might even have to go in backronym. Let's see if I can't go and get a meaning of backronym. Let's see. It says a backronym is an acronym deliberately formed from a phrase whose initial letters spell out a particular word or words, either to create a memorable name or as a fanciful explanation of a word's origin. All right. It says, so unlike terms such as AWACS or JDAM, Wraith does not stand for a fixed set of words. All right, so I guess this acronym can be used in many ways. It can mean many different things. Example, interpretations by role. It says context, implied meaning, ISR/surveillance, undetected observation, cyber/EW means inevitable access or effects, special operations, covert presence, stealth platforms, low observable/hard to track. It says the bottom line, Wraith in the military means something designed to operate unseen. It is a name, not a standardized term or acronym. All right. I'm not gonna go any more into it because, as like I said, it's being kind of elusive, not being saying exactly what it is, and saying that it's got a number of different meanings. But basically, we're in the hand of an oppressor. All right, and this man is just going out, making use of all the things that the military has come out with. All right, with their new weapons, they want to be able to use these things. All right, because, like I said, they're in a position right now where they don't have a large army. And they know there's armies that they may potentially have to face that outnumber them. So they want to go through the use of technology to use these different things in order to be able to come upon their enemies or come upon a battlefield and be very stealth about it. They want to use weapons that'll put their opponents at a disadvantage, by putting something on them that's going to attack, whether it be attacking them internally or just attacking them in a very stealth manner where they're fighting up against something that they can't even see. All right, something that they don't even know has approached them. It's just a method of cruelty that this administration wants to be able to use. All right, they want to be able to conquer because they don't care about any type of rules of engagement. All right, I just have one other verse that I wanted to bring out, and then I'll bring this to a close. And Salakia for me being so vague on what it is I wanted to bring out and get an explanation on, but Chat GPT just really don't want to give me a good definition here. I'm gonna go to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 19 verse 4 says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. All right, and that's what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a cruel Lord. This man doesn't care about how he goes about pursuing his enemies or pursuing the Israelites. All right, he's going to use whatever measures he has at his disposal in order to bring pressure on the Israelites, or in order to try to conquer Israelites. It says, and verse 4, it says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. And when that word hosts means armies, all right? Because that's what Exodus chapter 15 verse 3 says. The Lord Yahweh is a man of war, all right? So even though it looks like Donald Trump is winning this war right now, these are just battles that he's winning at the present time, because when the real war begins, and when it's all over and said and done, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai is going to be victorious. All right, and he's going to put an end to all this cruelty that's being used by this administration and by past administrations, because this is what this man does. All right, the Lord has brought this man on the earth and used him to be the sword against the Israelites for our inability to keep the laws, for our disobedience. All right, but this man Esau Edom has gotten out of hand, out of control, and his pride has overtaken him, because he thinks that he's actually in charge. He thinks that he is actually doing these things of his own accord, but he doesn't realize the Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai is putting these things in his hand and has given him these capabilities in order to do this, but only for a short time. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and end this here, and I pray that this has been edifying to the listener. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom.